Your Excellency, Engineer Ibrahim Mehlam, Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellency Dr. Penles Mahagni, Minister of State, Environment, Tanzania, and outgoing President of AMSEN, Mr. Achim Steiner, Executive Director of UNEP, for Ms. Ishola Olidia, African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, Honorable Ministers and Heads of Delegations. Your Excellency, Ambassadors and members of the Diplomatic Corps, representative of international organizations, civil society, and private sector, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to wholeheartedly welcome you to Cairo, Egypt, and more importantly, to this 15th session of AMSEN. I am particularly delighted to welcome those delegates who are coming to Egypt for the first time. We are privileged and honored to be hosting this AMSEN session, to host it again after 30 years of existence. As the host of this important meeting, we have put at your disposal all the necessary facilities, which no doubt we believe will contribute immensely to the success of this meeting. We have all been truly impressed by the work that AMSEN has been undertaking over the years, especially in bringing together countries from the region to tackle various environmental sustainable development challenges facing our continent. This impressive attendance by member states to this meeting is a testimony of the impact and importance of AMSEN, and I trust that we will continue to build on this momentum. I would like to thank you all, the experts, negotiators, partners, as well as other participants from the civil society who have been here for the last 3 to 5 days working tirelessly to lay the ground for the ministerial discussion that will be starting tomorrow morning. We truly value your work and commitment. 2015 is a crucial year for global and regional action on the environment and sustainable development. And we will be required to play our part as ministers and leaders in contributing to finding solutions to the challenges that we continue to experience. I'm convinced that we will be able to provide the required guidance over the coming days, which will go a long way in contributing to the achievement sustainable development for Africa. And finally, I hope that you will find some time after your deliberation and hard work here to visit some of our beautiful historical sites. Please do not hesitate to let us know if there is anything else that we can do to make your stay here in Egypt a memorable one. Thank you.
شكرا سيادة الوزير. والآن ندعو السيد بانلث ماهينجي وزير الدولة لشؤون البيئة في تنزانيا والرئيس الحالي لمؤتمر وزراء البيئة الافارقة أمسن لإلقاء كلمة.
Your Excellency, Engineer Ibrahim Mahal, the Prime Minister of Arab Republic of Egypt, Honorable Dr. Khalid Fahim, Minister of Environment of Arab Republic of Egypt, and the incoming President of the African Ministerial Conference on Environment, Mr. Achim Steiner, the Executive Director of UNEP, the representative of Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, African Union, Ms. Olushola, honorable ministers and heads of delegations, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, and members of diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment, AMCEN, let me first thank the government and the people of the Arab Republic of Egypt for hosting the 15th session of AMCEN. I congratulate you and assure you of the Tanzanians' continued commitment to work with AMCEN to address the challenges of environment on the continent as a collective endeavor. We are grateful for the warm reception accorded to us since our arrival in this great country. The kindness and hospitality with which we have been accorded will certainly play a crucial role in the successful deliberations of this meeting. Your presence here, Mr. Prime Minister, is greatly appreciated. At the outset, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for the excellent collaborations and the support that you have accorded to the United Republic of Tanzania during our tenure as the President of AMCEN and also as the coordinator of the Committee of the African Heads of States and Government on Climate Change, KAHOSKI. I look forward to the same commitment and support to the Egypt as it takes over the AMCEN presidency today. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is my last session as AMCEN president. I'm therefore glad to highlight a number of milestones of achievements since the 14th session in Arusha, Tanzania. A key area that AMCEN has been able to provide guidance and move forward is with regard to the climate change negotiations. During this period, Africa has effectively participated in the Conference of Parties in Doha, Warsaw, and Lima, working together with our negotiators, the Africa Group of Negotiators, AGN. AMCEN developed the key messages and updated the African common position that guided the negotiations to ensure the concerns and aspirations of the continent are brought to the attention of the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, AMCEN President has served as the Secretary of the KAHOSKI Coordinator. You are aware that KAHOSKI adopted the high-level work program on the climate change in Africa during the African Union Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, in June 2014, which will go a long way in contributing to Africa's response to the challenge of climate change. I'm delighted to note that the January AU Summit adopted this high-level work program as Africa Blueprint document to addressing climate change challenges and tapping on the opportunities related to addressing climate change on the continent. KAHOSKI also adopted the key political messages on climate change on 22nd September 2014 in New York that guided the continent's engagement at the United Nations Climate Summit on 23rd September 2014 and at COP20 in Lima, forming the foundations for Africa's interest in the ongoing negotiations for the new climate summit in Paris. During this period, AMCEN has worked with several partners to provide systematic, scientific, and technical information and analysis to the AGN relating to climate negotiations. These informations have been useful in deepening the understanding of various issues, thus contributing to the argument put forward in shaping the outcomes of the negotiations. In particular, I wish to point out the first Africa's Adaptation Gap report produced in 2013 with the key findings showcasing the consequences of inaction. I am pleased to note that the second report in the series is under preparation in response to AMCEN request at its 5th special session held in Gaborone. I would like to thank the UNEP through you, Mr. Akim Steiner, the Executive Director, for this invaluable support. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, during the 14th session of AMCEN, we agreed to develop and implement regional flagships programs as a means to contribute to the effective implementations of Rio+20 outcome in Africa. The concept notes have been developed for the flagship programs, the setting up of a steering committee under leadership of NEPAD, and a number of organizations have committed to facilitate the development and the implementations of flagship programs. However, we need to discuss at this meeting how these efforts can be fast-tracked. In September this year, the UN General Assembly will be adopting the post-2015 development agenda, including 17 sustainable development goals. As Africa, we have been involved through the Common Africa Position, CAP, as well as our participation in various international and preparatory meetings, including the first United Nations Environment Assembly, UNEA, session in Nairobi last June. The continued engagement and active participation of African countries is still crucial to ensure that the continent considerations are taken on board in the run-up to the September 2015 summit. Progress has also been made with regard to the better understanding the interlinkages between health and environment and how to address them in the context of the Libreville Declaration. The third African Environment Outlook report, focusing on the linkages between environment and health, was finalized, highlighting the fact that environment factors contribute about 28% of Africa's disease burden. We therefore need to identify mechanisms and opportunities to stimulate investment in health and environment priority programs as an essential contribution to achieving sustainable development in Africa. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa continued to actively participate in biodiversity-related meetings. In January 2013, the Executive Council of the African Union endorsed the decision on the establishment of a coordination mechanism on biodiversity, and discussions have been held to agree on the way forward in this regard. In addition, the African Union Commission has developed a draft policy framework and accompanying guidelines for the coordinated implementation of the Nagoya Protocol on access and the benefits sharing of genetic resources in Africa. Further, the Africa Mountains Atlas report was prepared. It is worth noting that this 15th session will be deliberating on some of the key steps needed to achieve a more sustainable use of natural capital, looking at policies and strategies to support Africa's economic transformations and growth. The issue of illegal trade in wildlife has been high on our agenda during this period, with discussions taking place during UNEA and at the African Union Summit in Malabo, with action needed to prevent, combat, and eradicate the illegal trade in wildlife and wildlife products, which has major economic, social, and environmental impacts, contributes to damage to ecosystems. We are in the process of working on a regional strategy that will contribute to addressing this problem. Environmental education is another area that AMCEN continues to address, whereby a process of developing an Africa Environmental Education and Training Action Plan was initiated. The action plan is intended to promote capacity in environmental education and training in Africa through formal education, training, lifelong learning, and capacity building. In addition, the development of a gender policy to guide AMCEN with regard to integrating gender considerations into its activities has also been initiated, without forgetting the preparation of a common strategy for Africa's engagement with the United Nations Environment Assembly, which is being facilitated by our ambassadors based in Nairobi in collaboration with those in Addis Ababa and New York. Ladies and gentlemen, there are other decisions that we agreed to during the 14th sessions as well as the 5th special sessions, and I'm glad to note that with the help of the Secretariat and the various partners, these decisions have all been implemented. Of course, with varied levels of achievements. Some of the decisions are still under implementations, and others will continue to be implemented in the future. Details of this have been highlighted in the report of the Secretariat that have been prepared for this meeting. These are just but a few highlights that as a forum and with your active participation and engagement we have been able to achieve over the last couple of years. This is by no means exhaustive. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot overstate the importance of this meeting of African ministers that comes against a backdrop of challenges unprecedented in scale and the complexity of climate change, food insecurity, poverty and environmental degradation. But equally, a number of forthcoming events provide opportunities for addressing the above challenges. A hard work still remains ahead of us, particularly the 2015 is a critical year in many ways. The international community is preparing to meet again and take forward the challenge and the opportunities of combating climate change in Paris, where we expect to agree on a new legal instrument. Before that, we have the post-2015 development agenda and the related sustainable development goals that will be adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in September. Building towards the September meeting is the third international conference on financing for development that is scheduled to take place in July 2015 in Addis Ababa. I'm confident of the ability of the African ministers responsible for the environment to influence the meaningful outcome in the cause of sustainable development of our continent. I believe the energy, enthusiasm, and the vision shown before by Africa will need to be developed during the coming months as the member states finalize the post-2015 development agenda, as well in a view of 21st Conference parties of the Climate Change Convention. These key events present an opportunity to shape this continent's sustainable future. I am certain that under the leadership of the incoming president of AMCEN, Egypt, we will achieve our objectives. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me reiterate that we need to ensure Africa is not committed to actions that is not able to achieve by its own resources in all areas. On biodiversity, we need to ensure that we work with African Union Commission to ensure that the policy framework and accompanying guidelines for the coordinated implementation of the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing of genetic resources are implemented consistent with African continent priorities. We need to ensure that the final agreement in Paris uphold the principles of the Convention of Climate Change and takes into account the hard negotiated positions of our committed group of experts, the AGN. On this note, let me also encourage African experts also engaged in the IPCC work to ensure that in October we get a new IPCC chair who will take the interest of Africa as IPCC priority in understanding and underscoring the scientific implications of climate change on the continent. It is for this reason, before I conclude, I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. Ismail Gizoul, a member of the AGN from the Republic of Sudan, on his election to lead the IPCC as the acting chair till a new chair is elected. We are all proud of you, and we believe you will ensure that the new chair is the one who will take Africa's concern and interest with the seriousness they deserve. I wish to thank the UNEP as the Secretariat of AMCEN for its great support for the last 30 years, and in particular during the tenure of the United Republic of Tanzania. I would also like to thank the African Union Commission for the close working relations that has greatly contributed to fulfilling AMCEN's mandate. I'm aware that the African Union under the Director of Kahosky is working on a new modalities to closely work with and support AGN and other thematic negotiating groups. This will be important in ensuring that the decisions of the summit are expeditiously integrated in the work of the AMCEN and other technical bodies such as the AGN. My appreciation goes to the African Development Bank, the Economic Commission for Africa, NEPAD agents, sub-regional economic communities, and all the other partners that I may not recognize individually. Thank you all once again for your staunch backing and unwavering guidance during Tanzania's presidency. Tanzania remains committed to work as a part of the AMCEN in ensuring that the continent's environment and climate change agenda is moved forward. I wish to hand over the AMCEN presidency to Khalid Faham, Minister of Environment of Arab Republic of Egypt. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister. والآن نستمع إلى السيدة أولوشولا ولايدة ممثلة الاتحاد الإفريقي. فلتتفضل.
Thank you, Madam Facilitator. Your Excellency, Engineer Ibrahim Maleb, Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Engineer Binelit S. Mahenge, Minister of State, Vice President's Office, Environment, United Republic of Tanzania, and the outgoing President of the African Ministerial Conference of Environment, Your Excellency, Dr. Khaled Fahmy, Ministry of State for Environmental Affairs, Arab Republic of Egypt, and incoming President of AMCEN, Your Excellencies, members of African Ministerial Conference of Environment, AMCEN, Dr. Achib Steiner, Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, eminent experts, representatives of parliamentarians, regional economic communities, African Development Bank, development partners, UN agencies, and the World Bank Group, the civil society group here present, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the press, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture of the African Union Commission, Her Excellency Mrs. Rhoda Peace Tumisime, is not with us today due to some pressing official engagements, but will join the AMCEN family during the closed session. She has requested that I convey our apologies to you all and to read the statement on her behalf. I now read. It is with great honor that on behalf of the African Union Commission, I address this 15th session of the African Ministerial Conference on Environment, AMCEN. We are honored to have Your Excellency, Engineer Ibrahim Maleb, the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, today in our midst. I welcome all dignitaries and members of your respective delegations present at this AMCEN session. Your Excellency, allow me first and foremost to convey the warm greetings and best wishes of Her Excellency Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and to express our thanks to the government and the people of the Arab Republic of Egypt for the hospitality in hosting 2 AMCEN sessions in 30 years. Allow me to also extend our sincere thanks to all honorable ministers, experts, and the AMCEN Secretariat and all development partners for placing among your priorities in your schedule the 15th session of AMCEN as demonstrated by your presence here today. The AMCEN Secretariat, the Arab Republic of Egypt, and UNEP deserve to be lauded for all the efforts put in the organization of this session. Excellencies, I would like to also seize this opportunity to convey the gratitude of the African Union Commission for your support and contributions to the events and activities that marked 2014 as the Year of Agriculture and Food Security. That is how we were able to raise the awareness on a number of issues such as climate change, environment monitoring, fisheries, and rural economy as they relate to agriculture, food and nutrition security, as well as poverty alleviation. Our collective efforts culminated in the adoption of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the AU Malabo Declaration on accelerated agricultural growth and transformation for shared prosperity and improved livelihood, thus sustaining the momentum on implementing the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, CAADP. Excellencies, this session is also very crucial as it happens at a time when Africa has a strategic guidance on Agenda 2063 on the Africa we want, also adopted in January this year by the AU Assembly, placing emphasis on sustainable development. I am convinced that the 15th session of AMSIN will provide us ample opportunities to consolidate Africa's preparation towards the 21st Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the 11th Conference of the Parties / the meetings of the parties to its Kyoto Protocol, COP21/CMP11, to be held in Paris, France, from 30th November to 11th December 2015. Excellency, honorable ministers, the expert segment discussed a number of issues which are very vital to the interest of Africa. I am sure they'll be reporting to you, honorable ministers, for consideration. And so let me single out a few of the issues, notably the Trust Fund of AMSIN, progress in the development and implementation of the regional flagship programs, operationalization of the Specialized Technical Committee of the African Union and its implication for AMSIN, outcomes of the first United Nations Assembly and the engagement of Africa in the Assembly, management of the natural capital of Africa for sustainable development and elevation, outcomes and analysis of the 20th session of the Conference of the Parties to the UNFCCC held last year in Lima, Peru, and preparations for COP21. Excellencies, these and other agenda items dealt with by the experts group shows that our experts had tough working sessions dictated by the multitudes of environmental, climate, and socio-economic challenges facing Africa. To successfully move forward, Africa will need to act fast, both in strategic preparedness and in implementation. Excellencies, honorable ministers, we are all aware that as a continent, we have a lot to do if Africa is to address challenges within a sustainable context. The recent African Union Heads of State Summit held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highlighted the challenges related to climate change as well as sustainable development and management of wildlife, climate change, natural resources. We need instruments on the ground that enables us to deal with all these various environmental issues in a manner that contributes to the socio-economic development of the African citizens, communities, and nations. We need science-based information that informs our negotiators on various issues of interest to Africa. Excellencies, to this end, it is my honor to inform this session that in 2014 in Malabo, the AU Assembly adopted the high-level work program on climate change action in Africa as a continental framework and agenda for climate change action in the continent, while in January 2015, the AU Assembly urged all member states to implement this work program and requested the Commission to report on its implementation. Furthermore, the Malabo Summit adopted another landmark decision on African wildlife, flora and fauna, conservation and illegal trade in wildlife. I'm mentioning this to indicate to you the seriousness with which our leaders take environment and sustainable development, and they call upon all of us to ensure follow-up and implementation. Excellencies, honorable ministers, the African Union Commission, under the able leadership of Her Excellency, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, continues to make contributions in a number of these areas. As a manifestation of this, we note progress in the following areas. 1, finalization of the African Strategy on Climate Change, which I am informed has been presented at the expert groups meeting. 2, the African Environment and Wagari Matai Day, which was commemorated on the 3rd of March 2015, that is yesterday, in Nairobi, Kenya, along with the World Wildlife Day. And 3, the draft AU guideline for the coordinated implementation of the Nagoya Protocol on Access and Benefit Sharing, ABS, in Africa. Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, permit me at this junction to thank the United Republic of Tanzania through the outgoing AMCEN President for the quality leadership in steering the affairs of AMCEN since October 2012, and also for the coordination of the Committee of the African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change, CAOS, through COP19 in Warsaw, Poland, and COP20 in Lima, Peru, among other global engagements. In the same vein, I wish to congratulate the Arab Republic of Egypt, through you, Mr. Prime Minister, for assuming the leadership of CAOS, and wish the Arab Republic of Egypt a successful and productive tenure. I wish to conclude by reiterating to Your Excellency and Honorable Ministers the commitment of the African Union Commission to service and support all CAOS, AMCEN, and AGM processes around Africa's common position in the pursuit of Africa's interests. I look forward to the fruitful outcomes of this 15th session of AMCEN, and I wish you productive deliberations. I thank you all for your kind attention, and God bless. Shukran.